Well, so much for ending the year with the Greatest Showman video essay that took me 2 years to make. Hey everyone, I'm Sebastian from KateCast Reviews, here to add my 2 cents to Nando V Movies' newest and last big YouTuber collab event as I nail down one last scene. Ironic, one last scene, one last video to end the year. I had precisely 2 minutes to think about what movie to talk about, and in 20 seconds, I got my answer. The Shawshank Redemption is my favorite movie of all time, and arguably the greatest movie ever made depending on who you ask. A story of a man in the wrong place at the wrong time, sentenced to life for the murder of his wife and her lover, sent to spend the remainder of his days in the dreaded Shawshank prison. Despite claiming to be innocent, a claim many in Shawshank coincidentally spout out, his first friend in the entirety of his prison sentence was that of Ellis Redding, or Red for short. The only guilty man in Shawshank, as he says. Shawshank isn't just a prison. One can argue this is literal hell. Ironic given that the main villain of this movie is a God-fearing Christian man who loved to enforce his fate onto every single one of his prisoners.
But you trust in the Lord. Your ass belongs to me.
Whether or not many of Shawshank's prisoners are truly innocent is anyone's guess. But the truth of the matter is that regardless of whatever crimes were committed or not, life in prison is almost akin to a death sentence. You go in as human beings and are locked in as cattle. Just a mindless animal in a kennel filled with other animals just like you, completely devoid of agency, freedom, or expression. When you really think about it, the mentality of prison is supposed to be an opportunity for one to not only pay for their mistakes, but learn from them as well. To do one's time depending on the crime and receive the appropriate punishment fitting of said crime, and come out a better person on the other side. Many of us wanted to believe that prison was just a place bad people go to when they break the law or do something bad. Little did many of us growing up know that prison doesn't really play favorites, nor does it discriminate with the people who are locked inside of it. The Shawshank Redemption isn't a prison story. It's a story about the value of humanity and the price of freedom. And what lengths are we gonna go through to gain back that freedom that was taken from us either by a corrupt system or by our own bad decisions. Throughout the movie, our main character, Andy Dufresne, has seemingly accepted the idea that his life is over. However wrong he feels about his sentencing, the only thing he can do is make the best out of a bad situation. At least, that's what we think at first. Andy took his sweet time trying to turn his own personal hell into an environment where he and his friends suffering alongside him can gain a sliver of humanity amidst the police brutality, the harmful working conditions, the violent inmates, the list goes on. In doing so, he comes to the understanding that freedom doesn't have to come from outside the walls. It can come from anywhere, and in this case, it comes from the friendship he forms with Red, the only guilty man in Shawshank. Throughout his 50-year sentence, Red has repeatedly given the same answer in front of a parole board, and every time it's always the same answer. Not that he cares, because he, like many other unfortunate souls, has become adjusted to life in prison almost to an unhealthy extent. There is a point in the film where, after one of the oldest inmates is granted parole, Red mentions about the idea of institutionalization. The idea of becoming so used to life inside of the walls that you grow unhealthily attached to life on the inside. As we see with the heartbreaking last words of Brooks Hatlin, life outside of prison is extremely difficult for those who spend most of their lives on the inside, as the reality of prison is not to help one learn from their mistakes, but to take away their humanity and then shove them back outside where they have forgotten how to be human. Brooks' death also makes one of the 3 lessons that this movie teaches. Fear can keep you prisoner. Andy, like many others, began to get adjusted to life in prison despite his little plan on the side, but unlike many who came and went, Andy chose to fight to maintain his humanity along with everyone else in Shawshank who were in the same boat as him. His relationship with Red becomes symbiotic as the two exchange everything with one another, from their fears to their hopes. Red isn't exactly a fan of the idea of hope, as demonstrated by his opinion on the idea of relying on it.
Let me tell you something, my friend. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane. It's got no use on the inside. You better get used to that idea.
Little did he know that hope can be a lot stronger than he gave credit for. Throughout the second act, Shawshank undergoes several changes and renovations, leading to Warden Horton to become more powerful and corrupt as a result. And he actually ends up employing Andy to help with his bookkeeping and other essentials, given Andy's former profession as a banker. Andy helped with many guards' taxes, establishing trust funds, becoming a big influence within the inside, almost feeling like a lapdog. A sense of loyalty that was very quick to be dashed away the second Andy discovered that not only was he truly innocent, but that the killer is out there and that he just helped to mentor a kid who was jailed alongside him. Warden Horton, of course, cannot let an important asset like Andy walk away. He knows too much. He's seen too much. He might wear a suit, but the devil was now just starting to show his horns.
Catching my drift? Or am I being obtuse?
This is where we get the second lesson that the movie teaches us, as Andy exclaims to Red that you can either get busy living or get busy dying. A profound if not alarming choice of words given Brooks' death a few years ago, not helped by the fact that some say they saw Andy with a noose long enough to hang himself with. Andy spent around 20 years locked inside of Shawshank Prison, shackled up by the criminal injustice of the criminal justice system. And while he was making the best of a bad situation, behind the scenes, or rather behind these sexy posters of Rita Hayworth, Marilyn Monroe, and the lovely Raquel Welch, Andy, using a rock hammer that he got from Red in exchange for a couple of smokes, tunneled his way out of the weak cemented walls into the infrastructure of the prison, leading him into the disgusting sewers where he was able to crawl his way through a river of shit and come out clean on the other side. 20 years locked like an animal and holding on to that dangerous hope that Red warned him about, Andy teaches himself and the audience the last lesson that the movie has. Hope can set you free. The last scene of this movie is one that takes its sweet time to come together. A year after Andy escapes, following a very satisfying sequence where the warden's crimes unfold and he takes a coward's way out, Red finally decides that he's had enough and just tells the parole board what he has to say and not what they want to hear. Rehabilitated or not, it doesn't matter because he did what he did and he has to live with that for the rest of his life. And whether he lives the rest of his life in prison or on the outside, he couldn't care less what they have to say about him as a person. Surprisingly, this actually works. And he is granted parole only to break it almost immediately in order to keep a promise that he made to an old friend. The movie adaptation of The Shawshank Redemption is based on the short novella by Stephen King, Rita Hayworth, and Shawshank Redemption, which told roughly the same story with a couple of different details that were changed for the adaptation that you're seeing. One of those changes was the ending. Before Andy escapes, he tells Red about his dream of living in Zihuatanejo and refurbish a boat to spend the remainder of his days free and comfortable. During this exchange, he asks Red to promise him that, if he ever were to leave, to seek out a specific hayfield near Buxton and retrieve a package under a rock that has no earthly business being there. The novella ended with Red finding said rock and grabbing the package that was inside of it. Whatever happened to after he grabs the package and reads the note on the inside is left to the reader's interpretation. In the movie, however, Red, never forgetting the promise he made to Andy, seeks out the package and in it lies a note asking him if he is willing to go further than he did to get there. Like I said, this is the moment where the novel actually ended. However, the movie, or in this case, the one last scene that we're going to be talking about here, actually shows the real ending that we were all hoping for. Throughout the movie, those three lessons I mentioned earlier are shown clear front and center, and with this last scene, all of those lessons are demonstrated in a beautiful ending that leaves tears in the eyes to this day. Fear can keep you prisoner, hope can set you free, and when everything else has been said and done, you can either get busy living or get busy dying. Also, for as much as I loved this ending, the Family Guy parody was fucking hilarious.
You remember the name of the town in Mexico, right? Crap!
Thank you so much for watching. This is actually a video I really wanted to do for a couple of years ago, but never found the opportunity to do so until right now. I'd like to give a special shout out to our patrons of honor, Wait in the Wings, Chelsea A Crandall, and Kate from KateCast Reviews. And if you want to see me and Kate tackling a bigger project altogether, then check out our Greatest Showman video essay, which you can check out right there on the doobly-doo. A very special thanks has to go to Nando V Movies for continuing to push my creativity forward by inspiring me to make videos that I would have otherwise never had the chance to do. Thank you guys so much for watching, have a happy holidays, and as always, I'm Sebastian from Cinemageddon Reviews signing out, and I'll see you on the wasteland.